Let's talk about what I keep in my running backpack. So this is also true for mountain biking because I basically use the same backpacks for both, depending on kind of what I'm doing, how long I'm going for, all of that sort of stuff. And I have a variety of different, hydration packs. And I'll do a separate video on what I look for when I'm buying a hydration pack, or what I found are the features that I find most useful. And so maybe it can help you as well, but that is not what we're going to talk about today. Today we're going to talk about the things that I take with me on races. So adventure races, things like half and full marathons, mountain biking, that sort of thing. So it does kind of differ between those different modalities, but what I'll say is these are things I pretty much take with me no matter which activity I'm doing, because I just keep a lot of these things in my backpack and they just kind of transfer over, and they transfer throughout all the different activities I do. So let's start off with something that I don't use that often, but I do keep in my backpack, and that is Advil. So I generally try and keep an anti-inflammatory with me. I've never really had to use it, but it's one of those things where I would rather have it and not use it than need it and not have it, right? Next thing that I'm going to talk about, kind of along that kind of first aid type of situation, is something that I don't have with me, but I do take with me, especially for running. And I'll just pop a little photo up on the corner here, and that is blister Band-Aids. So I really like the Band-Aid brand, I believe. I'll correct myself if that's not right, but they come in like kind of a silvery teal package, and maybe their branding has changed, but I like that brand. They come in a variety of different shapes. I like the kind of ovally shaped one the best, because where I can tend to get blisters, and this is something that I newly started getting last running season, is kind of right on the edge of your heel where your inner sole meets the shoe. There's kind of, a place that could be a friction point. I found wearing cushioned running socks has helped with that, but I still like to keep them. And lots of times I use them a little bit more in a preventative way. So if I start getting a bit of a hot spot or something like that, or if I'm going out for, so when I did Dopey, I put them on more as a preventative measure. I know a lot of people use things like moleskin. I've never had good luck with moleskin. I don't know, it just doesn't stay for me. It doesn't provide the same sort of protection, I feel like, as blister Band-Aids do. What I will tell you about blister Band-Aids, that was a mouthful, is that it does matter on how you put them on. So do read and follow the instructions that are provided about clean, dry skin and kind of warming it up afterwards and things like that. So it does make a difference in how you apply it. But I find when I use blister Band-Aids, even if I have a bad blister, oh man, that's a tongue twister, that I don't even feel it, and I can still go out for my run and feel great. So that's something else that I tend to keep with me, especially running. Adventure races probably as well. Mountain biking, I don't really get blisters, but they just kind of stay in my backpack for the most part. If you don't already carry it, is this little guy here, and this is a bit of a lifesaver for me. If you have never experienced chafing before, good for you. What does it feel like to be God's favorite? No, I'm kidding. But if you have had chafing, and I would say that this kind of goes along with the similar idea of you want it to be more preventative than reactive. So I always put this on before long runs, especially as we're getting to warmer temperatures. If you're a salty sweater or you're a high sweater, you might want to consider this, because chafing is no fun for anyone. So for me, it's kind of like a lot along the sports bra lines, somewheres in the nether region sometimes as well, depending on seams. I just kind of put this on so that I don't even have to think about it, versus not putting it on and wishing I had, and then not enjoying myself and trying to use this to kind of get through it. Not as much fun. Underarms is also a place where some people will get it kind of along, if you have a seam along here as well. But I don't know why this Body Glide, this Sport Glide, is for her. I don't know if there's really a difference other than it's pink packaging, but I keep this little one in my backpack, and then I have one that's a little bit bigger, more of a travel size, a true travel size deodorant, and that one is in my bathroom. So before I go for a run, that's the one I use. And they also come a little bit larger size, like a true deodorant size stick you can also get in these. So I don't know if the For Her ones are any different, but it's pink. That's what I got. And then the last thing in the kind of first aid kit type thing, these are not really first aid items, but like that's the category I would think, is lip balm. So especially if I'm a bit tired, I get to be a little bit of a mouth breather, and I really hate having chapped lips. I hate that like feeling of like, you know, like always kind of, yeah. Anyways, next category is snacks, because let's be honest, snacks are the best part about being physically active. So I'm going to talk about things that I carry that are kind of more in the traditional sports nutrition category. So the first one is going to be energy chews. I can't do things like goo and stuff like that. My stomach is too sensitive, especially to like a lot of high sugar content things. I tend to need a mix of real food and like high glycemic, high energy type stuff. So I like honey stingers. They seem to sit well with me. My favorite flavor of these are cherry blossom and fruit punch. But I'll basically eat any flavor except for orange. I don't really like orange. I don't really like orange anything. But honey stingers are good. In fact, I only usually have a couple. Like, so I typically have kind of an open package that has varying degrees of them left in my different backpacks. Another thing that honey stinger makes that I quite enjoy as well are these guys here. So these are waffles. I will tell you though, they are pretty fragile. So if you're somebody who likes to shove things or a little bit rough with things, these are going to turn to crumbs pretty quickly. So you just need to consider that. They also make smaller ones that come in kind of a larger resealable bag. And they also come in different flavors. I want to say that there's like a caramel or a cinnamon, I can't remember. Anyways, I like the vanilla and the original flavors. And then the other thing that I tend to stomach well are Cliff Bars. So I like Cliff Bars because it's a little bit closer to a whole food, not quite, but a lot better than like chew and stuff like that. And so I can, you know, have a half a Cliff Bar before a half marathon, and then like a couple of chews and eat some of this during, and I feel well fueled, and then I just eat some whole food afterwards. I like the chocolate chunk and sea salt flavor. Chocolate chip is okay as well, and I also like coconut. But there's lots of different flavors, and again, you know, you'll find I have a variety of these in my cupboard at any given time. The other thing that I do like to take for snacks for kind of some more endurance races, so like adventure races, and I probably will take them for the marathon as well in January, is peanut butter and jam sandwiches. It's just, I don't know, I'm basically a 5-year-old. It gives me some, you know, good nutrition, you know, some good amount of calories, and it's tasty. So even though I probably have almond butter and jam or honey, but that's beside the point. The other thing that I wanted to show you that I keep in my backpack, especially for long runs, races, like when I did Dopey, I had these in my backpack. So Noon, they're just electrolytes. They come in a bunch of different flavors and things like that. All they are is a tab that you dissolve in 500 mils of water. However, they take a while to dissolve, so I recommend dissolving them in a container before and taking it with you, or breaking these up. So for the marathon, I would break these up into smaller pieces and do it beforehand, because you're not going to break it up by hand during the race. But breaking these up beforehand, dropping them into your cup, walk for a bit, let it dissolve, drink it down, and then carry on. So I would do that, or you can always dissolve it in like a container. So this is something that fits in my Solomon backpack. It just kind of sits in a pocket right there. And I have it marked with an N to denote that Noon goes in these ones, because I don't like mixing like something that I'm going to put water in versus like something that has a flavor. I don't know. I'm just kind of weird that way, I guess. But anyways, I would recommend dissolving them beforehand. The next category I want to talk about that I keep in my backpack is clothes. And so something I actually keep kind of year round, which is kind of ridiculous, is a headband and magic mittens. So even though a lot of the races I've done, different places, have been pretty warm locations, so like Arizona and Florida, it actually is pretty chilly in the morning sometimes. Not always, but when races start, it is pretty chilly. And so just having something to keep you a little bit on the warmer side before you start while you're waiting in your corral is nice. My hands tend to get cold, so magic mittens are great, especially for races. During running season, I just wear, like I have Lululemon ones or Solomon gloves that I like to wear. But for races, I don't want to worry about losing them and things like that. So I just buy magic mittens at the end of the season. I go to Walmart when they're on clearance for like $1. And those are just those like super stretchy ones that look like this big before you put them on your hands. And that's just enough, I find, to kind of keep my hands warm enough for the start of the race, and then I can discard them, and then generally they pick all those clothes up and donate them to a shelter after. So that's something that I keep, especially for races. I always just kind of keep that in my backpack. And then the other thing that I generally always have with me for running, it's not something I always keep in my backpack. These are just two things I always take with me running. One is a hat. So generally speaking, you can always find me with a hat. I think keeping the sun off my face makes me feel better on my runs. And then the other thing are sunglasses. I really like Gooder glasses. I find that they sit on my face well. They don't bounce around. They are, they say they are anti-bounce, I believe. I have a smaller face, so I find some of the glasses just kind of look ridiculous on my face, or they just don't stay. And these ones I find have been really good for me. They have a bunch of fun, like kind of colors and styles and things like that. And I like that they're not super expensive. I have Oakleys and I've lost them I lost a pair on BC Bike Race, and that hurts. It hurts when you lose a $200 pair of sunglasses. And then I also had a pair of Oakleys. The lens were replaceable, which is great, but they got all scratched up. Whereas these guys, if they get scratched up or I lose them, I'll be a little bit sad just because I like them, but I can replace them pretty easily and I don't feel as bad about spending $35, $40 on them. And that is what I like to carry for long runs, endurance races, mountain biking, etc. If you have something that you think I should add to my kit or something that you like to carry, feel free to comment below, and stay tuned for an upcoming video where I'm going to talk about some of the things that I look for when purchasing a hydration backpack. What was that? What was that? Like a genie.